Welcome to the Optimize podcast from Prescribe Fit, where we explore the intersection of orthopedics, lifestyle health, and virtual care strategies to optimize patient outcomes and private practice success. Join us to hear from industry experts as we dive into the tools, technologies, and approaches shaping the future of orthopedic care.
Hi, listeners. Welcome to the Optimize podcast. I'm your host, Brock Leonti. This podcast is for clinicians, physicians, industry, and orthopedic and healthcare professionals. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Wade, CEO of OrthoSC, South Carolina, the region's most preferred orthopedic practice. Andrew shares his journey in healthcare leadership, from managing smaller practices to leading an organization with 86 providers. We'll discuss strategies for maintaining operational excellence, scaling patient care across multiple locations, and leveraging technology to enhance patient access. Andrew also dives into the role of artificial intelligence and predictive analytics in orthocare practice management and challenges of adopting new technology and the leadership principles that foster a culture of collaboration and continuous improvement. Tune in for the insights into our discussion today. Andrew.
Thanks, Brock. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, so am I. It's great to have you on the podcast. So just to start off, would you mind giving us some background on yourself for the listener?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Wade, CEO for OrthoSC. We serve primarily the northeastern counties of South Carolina. So we're the only independent group for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending upon the direction that you point yourself in. And we've been around since 2018, came together as the culmination of 3 groups that have been here in the community for a long time, I think since 1984. And came together in 2018 with the explicit purpose of being able to better serve the community with healthy, thriving private practice. And so it's what we've been doing since then. It's been a really wild ride. Our community's growing really fast. If you look around on the internet, you can find our area geographically is one of the fastest growing places on the Eastern Coast.
Wow.
And so everybody in our community, our hospital partners and us and everybody involved are all really just trying to keep up with the demand of folks that are coming to the community that continues to grow. So it's an exciting time to be here, exciting time to be a part of taking care of our friends and our neighbors.
Sounds like it. And you're in one of the most sought after vacation plus spots in the United States, Myrtle Beach area.
Sure.
Yeah, very good. You probably get some of the trauma that comes from people on vacation and, the accidents that happen there. So just personally yourself, we've had several interactions. We met together in person at AOE, the American Alliance of Orthopedic Executive Conference there in Atlanta. And I just found a lot of great things about your story. So I'd like to take a second to talk about you. You've worked across nearly every facet of healthcare. So you're a medical assistant, changed the billing, went to administration. How has that breadth of experience shaped your leadership style and your perspective on orthopedic care?
I think the gift of being able to work in so many different facets of the practice is that I have the ability to understand, right? It's a very different animal when I'm talking with one of my team members, talking with one of our department leaders, talking with somebody who's on the front lines of providing care. And it's a very different thing to have walked in those shoes, to understand what it's like, to understand the stress and the tension and the struggle of getting the job done while taking care of all the competing demands that are present for our team every day as they take care of patients. And so for me, I think it really gives me a lot of empathy. It gives me a lot of patience, and it helps me from a leadership perspective today. I think it really challenges me to realize that there's typically not a simple, straightforward answer for most problems, or it would have already been fixed by the time it gets to me, right? And so a lot of the time, it's not really that I need to fly in on a white horse with all the solutions or answers. A lot of the time for me, it's that I need to show up and create space and safety for my team to be able to use their expertise to help us create a solution that covers all the needs and still make sure that patient that we're taking care of gets the best care that we can get for them.
Absolutely. In elementary school, they teach us 2 + 2 = 4, right? And rarely in life as an adult do we ever get to go back to that simple equation. So it's much more complex. So what motivated you to move into orthopedic practice management? And how did your previous roles prepare you to lead OrthoSC?
So I sort of stumbled into healthcare. I've been around healthcare my whole life. My mom was a nurse in pediatric and maternal child healthcare services for years, finished the latter part of her career in a leadership role. And so I've been close to healthcare my whole life. Always been drawn to the healing, the helping professions, if you will. It means a lot to me to get up in the morning knowing that the work that I do, the work that our team does, matters to people, right? Still walk past people in the community from time to time. And I remember from many years ago helping them as a part of their journey in practice. And so it's a really incredible thing to know that I'm not just producing widgets or trinkets or whatever, and for some faceless thing out in a void. These are real people that live in our community. These are my neighbors, probably closely kin family in some senses, that I'm getting to help take care of. And so that's really what drew me in, was the ability to continue helping make that happen, to continue help leading that forward just in a different way. So I often joke that they don't let me touch patients anymore, and the whole community is probably better off because of that. But, I still consider myself a caregiver. I just do it in a different way. Instead of being directly on the front line, I'm supporting the team that's directly on the front line, taking care of patients every day. And so that's kind of what drew me in, was to be able to help make that happen, to help create a healthy, thriving practice so that patients have access, our team have secure, stable, rewarding jobs, and ultimately the community has great access to care.
Absolutely. And so being on both sides, and then being able to foster the new generation, if you will, of clinicians that are offering direct patient care, that must give you just a great perspective, and you're able to offer a great environment of collaboration and trust and whatnot. Do you have any comments on that you can share?
One of the most interesting things that's happened to me professionally thus far is that I've been around long enough now that where when I started in practice management, when we were recruiting surgeons or advanced practice providers, therapists, people who provide care on the front lines, I used to be the young guy. And now, when we're recruiting, I realize that the folks that we're recruiting are in their early 30s, and that's a long time gone for me now. That's quite a transition that's happened. It's incredible to watch what is happening, though, in just the mentality, the work ethic, the approach to life that these clinicians that are coming out of school now are bringing. And so I would say healthcare's got a lot of challenges in front of us. We still have a lot of questions to answer and a lot of problems to overcome. But I've never been more excited about where healthcare is going, never been more hopeful about where healthcare is going. I think that we have a generation of clinicians, a generation of team members, nurses, people all throughout all the facets that make care happen. They're going to fix the future of healthcare. Our generation is going to improve this thing, and we're going to make this better for the communities that we serve. And that's really exciting to me.
That's great. That's great. And we talked a little bit about that too. I think you're going after your PhD, and dissertation is in some ways to fix that, price transparency and all that, which we can get into in a second. You've played a role in combining 3 practices, like you had mentioned, into one unified organization, OrthoSC, right? So what were the biggest lessons learned during that integration process? And how did you change the way you think about practice growth?
I think one of the biggest lessons learned is that it's not the mathematics, it's people, right? It really is. And I think that story probably rings true for most leaders who have walked through bringing any type of group of locations, people, and process together. And I think especially in the healthcare space, we really never get to land the plane to do repairs or work or expansion or whatever. We're always providing care. And so no matter what the circumstance or situation is, no matter how great the innovation that we're trying to deliver to the front line may be, we always have to grapple with the fact that there's patient care happening in the middle of that, right? And so we can't afford the breakdowns in the workflows or the system. We can't afford the margin a lot of the times to learn the problems or fix the issues and that sort of stuff. We have to keep delivering while we iterate and innovate. And so that's been one of the most difficult things, is helping a broad group of clinicians who are extremely gifted, extremely talented. I think it's one of the reasons I love working with orthopedic surgeons. They're brilliant human beings. And so many of them will tell you they're basically just the human version of a carpenter, but that it's not true. They're absolutely brilliant humans, and they're amazing people to work with because they're always thinking, always innovating, always pushing the edge of excellence. And so it's really helping a group of people begin to think not about what they can do with their 2 hands, but what we can do as an organization together with every different layer and level of teammate, expertise, talent, skill, gift that we have to bring together, and finding ways to deliver replicably, right? We want to deliver excellence for our patients. And we know that excellence for our patients is, of course, it's quality of care, right? It's a great experience from an actual outcome perspective. We want people to walk away better than they came to us. It's one of the gifts of working in a field like orthopedics. Most people leave better than they came to us, right? But we know that just delivering once or twice is not the real fix, right? That's not the answer. We need to be able to deliver on that over and over every time. And so it is a universe that is very focused on the individual and the performance that a surgeon can provide or that the individual can do. But when you get to scale, when you get to size, I think the individual performance doesn't go away, but you really have to begin to focus on the system.
Sure.
Right? How well do we execute from the first touch point to the last touch point and everywhere in between? And you can't be dependent upon people to have every answer, every problem figured out, every situation handled. You've got to build a system that gives them the resources that they need and flows with them, not against them, as they're trying to provide patient care.
Absolutely. And I want to dive into that too. And before we do that, though, we have a question that we usually ask. It's a unique question for the guest here. So, being a CEO, what do you feel is the most important mental trick that you do yourself on a routine basis to keep clarity and calmness of your mind?
I think there's quite a few tricks, but I think the one that I most religiously hold to is just seeking silence. I think the modern workplace really prioritizes doing, and it's important, right? I mean, we have to produce, we have to get the job done, we have to keep the lights on. But I think a lot of the times in the rush to deliver a solution or to swat the problem or whatever it is, I think sometimes we fail to really pause, slow down just enough to really grasp the true depth of complexity and whatever the issue is that we're dealing with. And I think we deliver a solution that's not as comprehensive as it could be. And so when you think about that from a leadership perspective, if I'm not doing the work to make sure that I can show up for my team well, not just show up physically, the lights can be on, but nobody's home kind of thing. The goal for me really is to be able to show up for my team, to show up for the organization, to show up for my clinicians, and ultimately to show up for our patients every day. And so for me, that looks like being up at 5 a.m. every morning or a little earlier sometimes when the world's still really quiet and nobody else is up and moving around, so that I can get quiet, so that I can get some time on a bike, so that I can get time to read before the world kind of takes off and gets busy during the day. So I think that's the one that I hold to the most closely.
That's great. That's great. And I said that's probably why you live 15 acres outside of the city, right?
Yes.
For you. So that's great. So let's talk about operational excellence and management of your practice. OrthoSC is known as the region's most preferred orthopedic practice. What specific strategies have helped you achieve and maintain that reputation?
Brock, this is going to sound really grossly simple, but I think it's like many things, right? It's the simple answer that ends up being the real linchpin a lot of the times. We just try to do the right thing for patients, first and foremost, right? Now, that doesn't mean that we're not breaking down and rebuilding and rethinking and retooling stuff constantly, because we are. But at the end of the day, one of the driving forces, the guiding lights, if you will, for OrthoSC is that we realize that most patients, they can't tell you the difference between quality or non-quality, right? Mm-hmm. They can tell you if they feel better. They can tell you how the experience was. They can tell you how difficult it was to get an appointment scheduled. They can tell you if there's a lot of forms that really didn't make any sense, or if the intake thing didn't quite work right. I mean, they can tell you all that sort of stuff, but they really can't tell you a whole lot about clinical care. They don't have the training or the background any more than I could if I were in an exam room with somebody right now. I don't have that training. And so for us, it's permission to play that we hire, maintain, bring partners on to the practice from a clinician standpoint that are excellent clinicians. But we really focus on wrapping all of that exceptional clinical capability into a envelope, if you will, that is really easy to use, easy to access, simple to navigate. So for us, that looks like same-day appointments. It looks like walk-in access. It looks like urgent care. It looks like price transparency. It looks like trying to make the experience of receiving care as easy and accessible as it can be for our patients in our community, because we realize most of the time we think we're great. I mean, we're pretty wonderful people for sure, but most people don't get up in the morning super excited to come see the orthopedist, right? I mean, something's busted, broken, twisted, hurting, family members injured or sick or whatever. And so we often see people not necessarily on their best day, right? I mean, and part of what we want to do is make the experience as good as it can be. And we want to get them back to their quality of life, get them back to whatever it is that they do, whether that's work to feed their family, the golf course to swing a club, the ability to play with their grandkids, whatever, right? Whatever the individual story is, we want to make it easy to access what they need and get them back to life as quickly as possible.
That's great.
It's a driving force through everything that we do and kind of the filter that we run everything through. And it's really been incredible in how that it's allowed us to show up and serve our community.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point that you make, because patients don't know quality, right? I mean, unless they've had multiple surgeries or multiple things go wrong and they're used to this, which we hope that someone is not. That's the position to be in, to where I'm the expert on quality because I've been through this 20 times, but it's up to good people, experienced people, and also those that have the right mindset to come in and say, all right, here's how we do this. Here's how we do this right. And you're even opening a new location at the Conway facility. What are your top priorities for scaling operations while still ensuring that quality and consistent care across the locations there?
It's the same stuff. We're going to make it easier for our Conway and Western Horry County community to access care than it's ever been. We're going to bring urgent care, same day appointments.
Right.
Part of what we're doing and bringing that new location online is bringing all of our clinic spaces, our MRI, radiology, our pain spaces, PT spaces, all into one spot so that there's one place. If you can find your way there and park in the parking lot, we'll take care of what needs to be taken care of for you and we'll get you back on your way. We've got an absolutely incredible team throughout our organization from the front line all the way to the back. My team is fantastic, and I would be just completely transparent and tell you I'm not the brilliant guy who has all the great ideas. I'm surrounded by a really incredible team who has a ton of great ideas. And a lot of the times it's me getting out of their way so that they can execute on that fantastic solution that they've thought up, and then watching how that they just take off with it and create something incredible for our patients.
Yeah, there's a very simple book. It's, who, not how, right? And it's hiring the right people. And that you don't really need to read the book. You just have to read the title to know what it's about hiring the right people, and not necessarily you knowing how to do it, but they coming in and saying, all right, I'm the right person to figure this out and make this work. So it's great. So you've done academic work focused on pricing transparency. We mentioned this earlier. Let's look at this a little closer. So why is pricing transparency such a critical but often overlooked part of orthopedic care?
So I think one of the things that we want to see in healthcare is not just our clinical quality and access improve, right? But we've got to figure out cost. I mean, we as a society are now still very dependent upon employer-based coverage outside of governmental payers, particularly our senior and elderly population, retiree population who are transitioned out of commercial stuff into Medicare. But the reality is that most of us, even those of us who work in the industry, are just as lost when it comes down to making a decision for ourselves as anybody else is. We may know a little bit more about where to go get care or who to call or how to find what we need than the average person out in the community does. But I still walk into my pediatrician's office when my kids need something, or the physical therapy office if I need, for a family member needs something taken care of. And I'm pretty much putting my insurance card and my credit card down on the table and kind of hoping for the best, right? I have no idea what that's going to cost. And so what we are hoping to see, particularly in the price transparency space, not a panacea. There's no magic wand here. Again, it's right back to if there were a simple fix to the issue, it would have already been applied. But we really think that price transparency can bring some of the access in terms of not just physical access, but informational access to patients and equip them to be able to make better decisions about care, right? One of the challenges that we fight with is that our health insurance market particularly is super opaque. And so most people don't have a clue what kind of benefits they have. Even our people who work on the insurance side are still going to scratch their head sometimes in terms of, yeah, I generally know what's going on there, but I don't know what the specifics of it look like. Because if you dig into one of our insurance manuals at this point, there's hundreds of pages worth of fine print there, right? So in a future universe, what I'd love to see happen is the access to services be much more akin to walking into your local grocery store and making a decision about what type of apples that you want to buy, right? You got it all. It's visible. You can see what you're looking for. The price is clearly marked. You know exactly what that's going to cost. You can make a decision about level of quality, level of access. It's going to equip the end user, the consumer, the patient to make much more agency-based decisions, whereas today they're kind of just operating in the dark. And again, it's not going to fix everything, right? If we're on the way to the ER because we're having a cardiac-related issue or something like that, we don't have time to stop and do a Google search for what hospital is going to be the least cost-effective, right? But there's a whole lot of stuff out there that's not emergent, to where all the folks that are walking around carrying high deductible health plans that are going to have to pay for the first dollar coverage for that care out of their own back pocket will be able to make better decisions for their family, better decisions for themselves. And we think that the market and competition in the market is going to do what the competition in the market always does, which is going to drive all of us who are in the market to continue delivering the absolute best access, the absolute best quality, the absolute best product to the market possible. And pulling this veil of opaqueness off of the cost of our services is only going to accelerate what is ultimately the quality of care that our people in our communities have access to.
Absolutely. The number one reason for bankruptcy is medical debt, and this probably has a lot to do with it. If someone knew what was going into their surgery, their experience, or that treatment, they may change their mind, or they may go next door, or some people fly across America to see a certain physician because of that reason, maybe for more advantages on the outcome side than pricing, but you never know. I mean, we make different decisions. So
we see quite a few of those folks.
Oh, that's good. So when you're, in your view, transparency, communication, being that proactive, how do you empower patients to make better decisions and all that through proactive communication?
I think a lot of it's just helping people know what to expect, right? The medical universe is, it's complex. Taking care of humans is complex. We are all biosimilar in that we all have the basic similar parts and structure, but we're all unique individuals, right? And so all of our physiology, all of our neurology, all of the basis of who we are, every person's unique. And so we can't apply the same concepts that the Toyota factory applies to producing Corollas can't be applied to healthcare. It won't work, right? However, we can do a better job of pulling what can be brought in, right? And so in terms of helping people understand what this is going to look like, how long it's going to take, where am I going to be, how long am I going to wait, what's it going to cost, what options are there for managing that cost? It's really about being proactive and helping arm people with the information that gives them agency to make better decisions instead of just kind of walking them in blindly and then sort of dragging them into the system, particularly in a moment where many people, many times, they don't really have a choice. I mean, they're facing something that's either debilitating, dangerous, or bothering or hurting them to the point where they've got to get it taken care of. And so I don't think it is a real dramatic overhaul of the entirety of this system. It's just being more customer patient centric in how that we design our systems so that we do a good job of helping people know what they're walking into.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about that AOE when we were standing there together, and just patient navigation. I think people don't know where to go, what to do. Is it appropriate to wait 10 days for an insurance check when you're in pain and the billing specialist is saying, well, it's going to take us 10 days. Oh, I need that MRI because that's 10 days until I can schedule the MRI. Then maybe it's 2 weeks until the MRI. And then before you know it, it's 4 months until you get your surgery. Maybe not there at OrthoSC. It sounds like you guys have things same
No,
day.
we're going to move it quicker than that.
There are organizations out there like that, or experiences, and with better navigating tools like pricing, transparency, communication, knowing where to go and when, I think patients would make a lot different decisions, well-informed decisions. So when you look at technology, like digital scheduling, patient portals, what role does that play in improving patient access and informing care decisions at OrthoSC? Yeah.
So for us at OrthoSC, it's about acceleration is what it is. I want our community to be able to book an appointment at 3 a.m. if they feel like booking an appointment at 3 a.m. I don't know what they're doing if they're awake at 3 a.m. thinking about booking an orthopedic appointment, but that's for them to figure out, right? The bottom line is I don't love that a lot of our healthcare universe still relies on the phone and the fax. Everything else around us, every market around us has transitioned forward into app-based digital access. And we're fortunate. We've got an incredible team that runs our phones, an incredible team that runs our operator queue in the practice. They are brilliant, incredibly capable, and they love taking care of patients, but they're only human, right? And so they can only do so much. They can only take care of so many people at one time. And none of us as customers or patients want to wait and listen to the whole music. We just don't at this point, right? No matter how great the music is, we got too many things to do. We're busy. We're trying to move forward. And so for us, it's really about making good use of access for patients so that they don't have to wait. They can get what they need quickly. And then on the practice side of that, it's really also about accelerating our team too. Because at the end of the day, I want that super bright, super smart, super compassionate teammate of mine to be focused on eye to eye with that patient, listening to what's going on, connecting with them, not rifling through 200 pages worth of navigational notes about how to book a particular appointment or where that this can be done or whatever it is. So for us, it's really about bringing better tools, right? It supports the practice dramatically. It helps our team with just the workload. And in the process of doing that, it also makes the practice more accessible, more easy to interact with for the patients.
That's great. Sounds great. So there's this positive side there of having these tools being better, being more optimized at hitting the end goal. And then when you put those in place, some challenges arise, right? So can you talk a little bit about that, adopting new technology?
So I go back again to the reality that no matter how cool the innovation is, we're taking care of patients in real time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's typically what we face is we are super fortunate. I've got a group of really great sports and our physicians. And most of the time, if I can show up and show them how that a technology or a tool is going to support the practice, support their care, support them and their team, they're all for it. The implementation is the key, right? And so it's the pre-game work, it's the helping them understand exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to look, where it's going to be, how the interaction is going to happen. And one of the things that I love and appreciate about that is that it's always about what does this mean for my patient when they're thinking about this, which is really cool, right? I know that not all people in my role can say that, but I do. And I think it's an incredible thing to be able to say that. But they are thinking about how is this going to impact the care that my patient receives. And so there are guards always high and making sure that there's no potential for something to be missed or dropped or lost or crossed over that's going to be important for patient care. But that's part of the cool part of my job is spending that time doing the visioneering part of, hey, how do we build a tech stack that really supports our clinical care delivery? How do I build a tech stack that supports my team in delivering this? How do I ensure that same tech stack has an external user-facing side that is really easy to work with, really easy to navigate? So for us, it's a lot of pregame leading up to a launch and then continuing to iterate and evolve with time as we see the market and the demands and the patient experience adapt and change over time.
Excellent. So you've emphasized the importance of practice-wide implementation and ancillary services. In other words, ensuring all providers are aligned, they're engaged. Why is that alignment so important for long-term success?
Well, there's a couple of different things that I think there are. First, for the practice, ancillaries are, I'll call it the lifeblood of private practice, right? I mean, it's one of the glue elements that holds the group together, if you will. Even under the banner of orthopedics, there are multiple specialties that are very different. One of the common things that we see in private practice is that those ancillary structures support the group. They support the group's health. They support the provision of care. And then on the patient side, it's another one of those examples to where I can do it for a lot cheaper than you're going to get it at one of my hospital counterparts in the community. And I can typically provide that access much faster than one of our hospital counterparts in the community can. And I wish I could say that it's just because we're smarter and better and faster than all of our competitors. The reality is that we are a focus factory, right? And so that's a great thing for patients because this is all we do. Our hospitals are typically very busy and very held up because they're taking care of all those other specialties that are there in the community and all the other demands and needs. And so it's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't try. It's just that they're overwhelmed too. And we have the ability to deliver care at a better price point, quicker access. And even if you get down to some of the super nitpicky stuff, you're not trying to figure out where the record for the scan went. You're not trying to figure out where the notes from the physical therapy team went. You're not trying to figure out where the lab stuff went. It's all under one chart. It's all in one record. The patient's clinical team are all in one pool together versus disparate places all over the place throughout the community where all those barriers because of lack of interoperability and lack of digital access for information to flow freely is still present in our healthcare system.
Absolutely. So looking at proactive preventive care, it's on the rise. You've said that you can't lose sight of the fact that many people will still need surgery. So how do you balance future forward thinking with the reality of surgical demand?
I really think that they're married together, whether they should be married together deeply. I do not see proactive care as a threat to surgery in any way, shape, or form. I think that what we are going to see is that there's going to be multiple generations that are in front of us before that we really see the tides turn on anything. And I think we've seen that historically be true, whether we talk about the administrative side and the financial markets, the administrative side of medicine and that sort of stuff. Even getting a groundbreaking drug moved from the lab to the pharmacy counter is a painstakingly slow process. And so what I want to see is my children's generation. I'd love it if our generation does this too in the process, right? But I'd like to see my children's generation take a lot more proactive approach in how that they live, how that they take care of themselves, how that they manage their health care. I don't think that's going to erase the need for surgery. I think there's still going to be accidents and injuries. You're still going to have genetic issues that just predispose people towards different things. But I think we can alleviate a lot of suffering. I think we can alleviate a lot of cost. I think we can alleviate a lot of noise in the system. And I think it could probably give us the ability to deal with the really rapidly growing physician shortage that we're facing in the country if we get to a point where that we can head off some of these, okay, it's broke, now we have to try and fix it type stuff by doing much more proactive frontline intervention and supporting people before that they get to the point of needing surgery.
I would completely agree. And I think that sounds like a win for everyone there. So, yeah. So when you look at the trends and innovations, what do you believe is the most impactful orthopedic practice management strategy over the next 5 to 10 years? And how is OrthoSC preparing for this?
It's going to be people.
Okay.
It's going to be all about the team, all about the people. We are crazy fortunate that we have no shortage of absolutely brilliant partners that are out in the market creating solutions and tools and resources that help us in delivering care. But, as in any complex organization, you can have all the right people, all the right equipment, great financing structure, fantastic regulatory. You can have all the problems solved, right? But if your people can't communicate, if your people can't work together, and if you have not built a culture and a team that thrives together and understands the ability to ultimately deliver is going to pivot on our ability to do it together in lockstep, then you're not going to be able to be as successful as you could be. And you're not going to be able to deliver the way that you really want to be able to that customer in that last mile.
No doubt. No doubt. So our optimized podcast signature question that we ask every guest, and this is the same that we ask every guest. So here it goes. Andrew, you ready? So if you could give every patient one superpower or piece of advice to optimize their health and transform their life, what would it be and why?
I would give everybody the ability to stop for a minute and just do the math, right, of compounding years and thinking about the value of a little bit more motion today than you did yesterday, a little bit better decisions about what you consumed than you did yesterday, a little bit more proactivity in managing your care with your primary care provider. I think just helping people understand the value of little tweaks today and how that when you push that out longitudinally over years, what an amazing difference that will make in your well-being and your health and the way that you show up for your family and your team. I think that would be what I would give them. And I think it would probably, in turn, solve a lot of the problems that we have within our healthcare system today with all the regulatory and financial and other challenges that we have if people were just thinking a little bit differently.
That's excellent. Excellent. So anything else that you'd like to discuss today? What else is on your mind that you'd like to share?
No, we're excited to continue forward into the future. And I think I would thank you guys for letting me be a part of the conversation here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. You guys have been an incredible partner in our group, and I hope that you will keep on keeping on. We're excited for the future.
We sure will. And you too. So just as one last question, where can the listeners find you? We get that question often. Where can they find you in touch?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on a couple of the other social media platforms as well, but LinkedIn is the primary spot. All the other social media profiles are just old, boring dad stuff. So
that's okay. That's the exciting part about personal life then too. So, well, thank you, Andrew, for joining us today very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us today. That's a wrap for today's episode of Optimize, where we empower providers to enhance patient care. We appreciate you joining us as we explore the innovative ways to improve patient outcomes through lifestyle health. If you found today's discussion valuable, please be sure to subscribe, share this with your colleagues, or leave a review. It helps us to continue delivering content that supports you in your practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this optimized podcast episode from Prescribe Fit. Make sure you never miss an episode by following the Optimized podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. If there are any topics or guests you'd like to hear on our show, email your suggestions to optimized@prescribefit.com. And to learn more about Prescribe Fit's virtual lifestyle coaching and remote patient monitoring program, visit prescribefit.com.